let's switch gears and turn our attention to the Quebec government tabling its draft constitution. Premier François Legault says the constitution bill would protect Quebecers' distinct identity and culture. Legislation intended to defend what Legault's government deems to be the common values of Quebec, including secularism and equality between men and women. Our next guest was part of the committee that recommended the drafting of a Quebec constitution. Let's go to Guillaume Rousseau now, a law professor at Université de Sherbrooke. Guillaume, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Tell our listeners, Guillaume, because listen, you're on CJAD. Many of them are wary of the idea of a Quebec constitution. Tell me why you believe this is the right decision.
Well, it's mostly symbolic for the Constitution of Quebec. Then there's the Act respecting the constitutional autonomy, the Act respecting the Conseil constitutionnel. So there are other parts to that bill. But when it comes to the Constitution of Quebec, it's mostly symbolic. So it's just saying what Quebec, the Quebec state is, what the Quebec nation is, and make it a symbol for all its citizens. So there's nothing wrong with that. It can even be useful. It can be a symbol for all Quebecers, regardless of their origins or their mother tongues or so on. So I think it could be positive for anybody. Then when you go to some specific provisions, for example, the fact that the equality between women and men should prevail over religious freedom, then that could be more controversial, but mostly it's symbolic.
So if it's mostly symbolic, I guess I have to ask the question if it's worthwhile, given all the other challenges Quebec has right now. And, time is a resource. There's only so many things you can do in a day. Is it worthwhile for a government to spend time on something that you say is symbolic when we have other serious issues?
Well, I think that the government can both manage healthcare and school and so on. Does he handle and manage that well? Well, I'll leave that to your auditor to decide. But I think the government can do many things at once. But and then there's not just the Constitution, which is mostly symbolic. Some would think that it's very important to have such a symbol in Quebec. It's a way to affirm the autonomy of Quebec, its identity, without leaving Canada. So it's the sort of the third way between sovereignty and centralized federalism. So that's what the CAQ is proposing. So it's in that framework. But then again, there's these two other parts of the bill that are maybe more concrete, that really have objectives that are more concrete and clear.
Well, tell me about those concrete objectives.
Yeah, so the Act respecting the constitutional autonomy of Quebec, it's really about making sure that every time there's an initiative, a policy from the federal state that is an encroachment on Quebec's autonomy, then there are mechanisms in place in order for the state of Quebec, all its ministry, all its public organization to resist that initiative from the federal state. So that is really going to help to defend Quebec's autonomy.
Now, the notwithstanding clause will not be used here, okay? And you talked before that this could lead to court challenges. What do you think about that? Like, it is going to be like, by the way, it doesn't matter what province you're in now. It seems like everything provincial governments try and do, people take it to court if they try and do anything major, right? So what do you say to that? This is a government that doesn't shy away from using the notwithstanding clause. That decision not to use it here, what's your take on it?
Well, maybe because the government think that there is no issue with the bill and the Canadian Charter of Rights and so on. So that could be one reason. And then, even though the bill, there's no notwithstanding clause in the bill, there's mention of the notwithstanding clause, and basically what the bill is saying is that Quebec has the right to use it. And then there's a possibility for an M&A to make sure that there is a debate at the National Assembly I think it's a 5-hour debate every time a notwithstanding clause is renewed, because it needs to be renewed every 5 years in the case of the Canadian Charter. So that's what is in the bill regarding the notwithstanding clause.
What do you say to those that say this is they like the idea of a Quebec constitution, they don't like the method, the way the Quebec government is going about it? Where where you've got Simon Jolin Barrette saying, ta-da, here's your constitution, instead of doing consultations, open, public, long consultations to create the document itself. What do you say to that?
Well, I think there is some sense to that, but then if the government is open to amendments, because there will be consultation, there will be public hearings and a parliamentary commission. So I think it's really important for the government to be open to amendments from experts, from organization of the civil society, and from opposition parties. So, and if 6 months from now the government is adopting important amendments to his bill that have been proposed by other people than the CAQ member or MNA, I think it would do the job.
Let me ask you, because a lot of provinces have issues now with how Ottawa handles things and encroaches on jurisdictions. And other provinces have used some legal mechanisms, legislation, like Alberta, to try and push back against Ottawa. Do you think that this Quebec Constitution actually puts Quebec, along with many of its peer provinces, in saying enough is enough when it comes to Ottawa overreach?
Yeah, exactly. The act respecting the constitutional autonomy of Quebec, so the second part of the bill, is directly inspired by the Alberta Sovereignty Act and by the Saskatchewan First Act. So really, it's here we see Quebec with other provinces going to defend the provincial autonomy. So it's really from a pan-Canadian perspective, that part of the bill is really interesting.
Monsieur Rousseau, I do have to leave it there. Guillaume, thanks so much for coming on this morning. Let's talk again soon, okay?
Thanks to you.
Guillaume Rousseau is a law professor at Université de Sherbrooke, was part of the advisory committee on constitutional issues in Quebec within the Canadian Federation.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.